Imagine you're living in a small village in the early 1700s. Life is quiet, maybe a little predictable, and everything is done by hand or with simple tools. Every item of clothing, every meal, every tool has to be made from scratch. Imagine plowing fields without machinery, using only animals and manual labor. There's no electricity, no running water, and no rapid communication. Life is rural, slow, and hard. Now, imagine that within just a few generations, everything changes. The landscape, the cities, the way people work, live, and even think, transformed by a whirlwind of innovation. This is the story of the Industrial Revolution, a revolution not fought with soldiers or swords, but with steam engines, factories, and ideas. Welcome, everyone, as we dive into the entire history of the Industrial Revolution. Before the revolution, life in agrarian society. To understand the impact of the Industrial Revolution, we first need to look at what life was like before it began. The vast majority of people lived in rural communities, dependent on farming. Families grew their own food, and local artisans created the tools, clothes, and other essentials by hand. Imagine it's the 1700s. You're a weaver, and every day you work from sunrise to sunset to create fabric. Your tools are limited, every piece takes hours or even days. There's no rush, but there's also no comfort or luxury. Everything is labor-intensive, and progress feels slow. And this way of life wasn't just in Britain, it was everywhere. The entire world was in a pre-industrial state, but something was about to change. And that change would come from a single spark: innovation. The birth of innovation, key inventions in the textile industry. The Industrial Revolution officially began in the textile industry. This might sound like a small start, but it was revolutionary. Up until the 1760s, spinning and weaving were done in homes, often as a family business. But then came the inventions that changed everything. First, we have James Hargreaves and his spinning jenny. The spinning jenny allowed a single worker to spin multiple threads at once, drastically increasing productivity. This was followed by Richard Arkwright's water frame, which used water power to automate the spinning process. Think of it like the early days of the internet. Suddenly, everything could be done faster and on a larger scale. These inventions marked the beginning of factories. Before long, instead of working from home, people were working in buildings filled with machines, all running day and night. The age of factory labor had begun. The steam engine, powering a new era. If there's one invention that symbolizes the Industrial Revolution, it's the steam engine. Early steam engines existed, but they weren't efficient enough for widespread use. Then came James Watt, a Scottish engineer who perfected the steam engine. Watt's improvements made it possible to use steam power not just in factories, but in transportation, mining, and beyond. Imagine living in a time when traveling just a few miles took hours by horse. Now, thanks to steam power, trains could cover distances at unprecedented speeds. Goods, people, and ideas moved faster than ever before. Watt's steam engine became the engine of progress, and it powered everything from factories to trains to boats. The age of steam was here. Think of it like electricity today. It's everywhere, and it powers everything. The steam engine was just as revolutionary for its time. Urbanization, the growth of cities. As factories grew, so did cities. Suddenly, people didn't need to live on farms or in villages. They could move to the cities to work in the factories. Cities like Manchester in England transformed from small towns to industrial powerhouses almost overnight. But this rapid urbanization brought its own challenges. Imagine arriving in a city looking for work. You'd find crowded, dirty streets, buildings thrown up in a rush to house the influx of workers, and a skyline filled with smokestacks. Cities grew faster than the infrastructure could handle, and conditions were often harsh and unsanitary. Living in these industrial cities was tough. Families lived in cramped housing with poor sanitation. The working class faced long hours, low wages, and dangerous conditions. But for many, this was still a chance for a better life. The impact on workers and society, class tensions and labor movements. The Industrial Revolution brought wealth to factory owners, but it was the workers who toiled in harsh conditions to create that wealth. Factories ran on labor, often cheap and exploitable. Workers, including children, faced long hours, sometimes 12 or 16 hours a day, with little regard for safety or well-being. Imagine working in a factory at age 10, surrounded by heavy machinery, inhaling dust and fumes. Child labor was common because children could be paid less and were seen as easier to control. This led to class tensions. On one side, the the factory owners and capitalists grew wealthier. On the other, the working class endured low wages and poor living conditions. Over time, workers began to organize, forming early labor unions to demand better wages, safer conditions, and shorter working hours. The struggle for workers' rights became one of the defining social movements of the era. Transportation revolution, railways and canals. As factories produced more goods, there was a growing need for efficient transportation. Enter the transportation revolution, another key piece of the Industrial Revolution. Railroads and canals transformed how people and products moved. The first steam-powered railway, which ran between Stockton and Darlington in 1825, marked the start of a new era. Soon, railways spread across Britain and beyond. Trains allowed goods to be transported quickly, efficiently, and relatively cheaply. Think of the railway as the internet of its time, connecting distant towns and cities and allowing resources and ideas to flow freely. Railways didn't just change business, they changed daily life, making it easier for people to travel and stay connected. Global expansion, the Industrial Revolution spreads. The Industrial Revolution didn't stay in Britain. By the early 19th century, industrialization was spreading across Europe and North America. Each country adapted the new technologies to fit its own needs and resources. In the United States, for instance, the focus was on industries like steel and oil, which would play a major role in shaping the American economy. Germany, on the other hand, became known for its coal and chemical industries. Industrialization was spreading, and it was creating a new, interconnected world. These changes set the stage for the global economy we know today. The environmental and social costs. But the Industrial Revolution wasn't without its downsides. Factories polluted the air and rivers, forests were cleared, and natural resources were exploited at unprecedented rates. The rush to industrialize often ignored the environmental impact. Workers, too, bore the cost. Unsafe working conditions, long hours, and child labor became serious issues, leading to new laws and regulations aimed at protecting workers and the environment. Society had to grapple with the consequences of progress. Think of industrialization as a powerful medicine, one that improves life but has serious side effects. The challenge became finding a balance between growth and responsibility. Legacy of the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was one of the most transformative periods in history. It laid the groundwork for our modern world, affecting everything from technology and society to how we work and live. But it also taught us valuable lessons about the costs of progress and the importance of responsible development. As we continue to innovate and move forward, it's essential to remember these lessons, that every advancement comes with responsibility, and every revolution must serve the people it impacts. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Industrial Revolution. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, keep learning and stay curious.